So it was 135 years ago this summer that Thomas Edison flipped the switch to his Pearl Street power station in downtown New York. Really the dawn of the electrical grid as we know it. It's the first sort of central station power plant. The grid at that time happened to be 400 light bulbs in New York City, but it really led this century of what folks have called kind of the greatest innovation of our age is electrification in the modern grid as we know it. Today we are working to transform that grid into one that's more compatible with a carbon-constrained globe. But we can't forget how valuable that contribution was to increasing economic prosperity, into quality of life, and just innumerable benefits that we all enjoy. But there's a good swath of this earth that doesn't enjoy those benefits. Billions of people that live in what you might call energy poverty. And this is true across the Pacific, where islands, as Pradeep will call the tyranny of distance, makes it difficult for them to access the benefits of this electrification. So we're going to explore this morning, some of the lessons learned and observations on the pathway to electrification in our new carbon-constrained globe from different parts of the Pacific. We're fortunate to have a good diversity of folks on the panel here, someone from the private sector, from the government, from the utility, and different islands represented. So let me introduce the panel. We'll start on the far end here with AJ Reniga, who is the co-founder of Sunergize, a private firm. He'll talk a little bit about what they're doing on various islands, particularly in Fiji. Next to that is Tama Sotoa. He is the director of the Territorial Energy Office of the Territory of American Samoa. And then representing utility, we have Pradeep Vamir. He is the CEO of the Solomon Islands Power, Solomon Power. So let's start with you, Pradeep. There's some 900 islands in the Solomon Islands, is that right?
Yes.
And of those, astounding, 80% lack access to electricity?
Yes.
As I understand it, as you described, many of these folks are using wood for cooking, they're using kerosene for lighting, very rudimentary, forms of energy. So you talk about increasing accessibility and affordability. Now, when we think about those, are these at odds? I mean, you'd think due to the lack of infrastructure, the distance, that the cost to bring electricity to these distant islands might raise electricity prices for all. Is that a challenge that are those compatible?
Jeff, actually, we consider accessibility and affordability as complementary. So if we were to increase accessibility, we must also improve affordability. So what we are doing in Solomon Islands is, as you said, we have many islands, about 997 islands, spread over 1.35 million square kilometers of water, and the land mass is only 29,000 square kilometers, with 600,000 people. 80% don't have access to electricity. So what Solomon Power is doing is increasing the network in the capital city, Honiara, and in Guadalcanal, and also at the outstations, and introducing renewable sources of energy like solar. We are putting some hybrids. By increasing the network, what we are doing is we are bringing the network closer to the homes, and that way we are driving the capital contribution from the customers. And to improve affordability, just by bringing in solar, we are displacing diesel. Last year we purchased 21 million liters of diesel. If we can bring that down to 15 million liters, we can drive the price of electricity down, and that will help the accessibility also. So they're actually complementary. One supports the other.
Interesting. And when you say 21 million liters, you mentioned that the other day, did the rough calculation about 130,000 barrels. And unfortunately, that's about what we consume in Hawaii every day. But it's good to hear that those things are moving, they're in alignment. AJ, your company works with utilities like Solomon Power. Can you talk about some of your experiences on Fiji and some of the success stories you've helped to bring to life there?
Sure, Jeff. We started about 5 years ago, started offering solar as a service, and our clients at that time were mainly large commercial corporate organizations who wanted to do something for the environment, but also at the same time save money. So our clients are people like Heineken, Coca-Cola, Carlson Group, who operate the Radisson resorts. So last year we had a look at what's happening in Fiji with regards to rural electrification. and realized that the methodology that the Department of Energy was using at that point in time was mainly supplying small home solar systems. And that really did not work because most of these islands are quite remote. You supply small home solar systems. They really, if they break down, there's no way of fixing them. There was no possibility of collecting revenue from them, so it was not sustainable in rolling out larger villages, larger demographic area. So we went in and we offered microgrids to the Department of Energy. And it sort of initial, in an island atmosphere, then general hesitation initially because they wanted to see if it works. So we went and did a pilot project, a couple of pilot projects. Unfortunately, one of them got completely wiped out during the cyclone Winston, which was the largest in this part of the hemisphere. The second project worked quite well. We've got about 53 homes connected on a hybrid system, and we've had a lot of learnings from this. When we first go in, we need to conduct a survey to figure out what is required, what the services, what the power requirement for each of the homes are that allows us to appropriately size the system. Once you've done that, we form an energy committee within the village, which allows us to then train these people to monitor and maintain the system while we sort of look at it remotely. On the other hand, we create e-commerce within the villages, allowing people to act as vendors to sell top-ups or sell credits for powering the system. Overall, it worked really well, and some of the great stories that eventuated out of this is women, especially women in the village. The second largest consumer of the power that we supplied was a woman who, after saving some money, bought a freezer, and she started a ice cream business within the village. The largest power consumer in the village was already a woman as well, and she owns the store that sells basic consumer items there. So you can see that there's a lot of things happening there. And then at the same time, the kids in the primary school were now having access to power 24/7 as opposed to previously having 3 hours a night. And because of this access to power, they started forming study groups at night. They had computer access at night, and this actually eventuated in the primary school achieving 100% pass rate. So again, we've proved this model, and now we want to replicate this into multiple villages. There's about 500 villages in Fiji that require electrification, and overall Fiji is 80% electrified. So of the 20% which is non-electrified are quite remote areas.
Those are fantastic stories, and I don't know what was more exciting, the ice cream or the 100% pass rate, but the fact that it was such a partnership, you made it sound like a partnership between the community, is exciting. And in Fiji, you have some of the lowest rates in the Pacific. I mean, that's pretty interesting. Some 16 cents, is that right, in that range?
Yes, there's a residential tariff, and then you've got commercial tariff, which is about 18 to 20 cents.
Okay, and that's because of your large amount of hydro you have there. So you are kind of competing with those rates, some of your projects, is that right?
Correct. Fiji is already about 60%, 50 to 60% renewable, and majority of it comes from hydro.
So moving to American Samoa, you have set, and again, you're speaking now from the government perspective, you've set some pretty aggressive targets for achieving 100%. Hawaii has 2045 as a target. American Samoa set a target of 2040, is that right?
That's right, Jeff. Just to put it in perspective, how many of everyone in the audience are familiar with where the territory of American Samoa is? Can I show by hands? Okay, that's probably less than half. So, well, let me just put you in perspective, just where it's located. Technically, the territory of American Samoa is 14 degrees latitude south of the equator, 171 degrees just east of the prime meridian. So, on layman's terms, is about 6-hour flight southwest from Honolulu. So if all of you that are here that thinking that Hawaii is a paradise state, what's 6 hours to go to Samoa, right? So you're welcome to come there, enjoy the climate and the people. There's two Samoas. There's Western Samoa, which is now known as the independent state, Samoa, and the American Samoa, which used to be Eastern Samoa, is now the territory of the United States. So from that perspective, I just want to make sure that is in perspective in the location of where everything's at. So yes, we had an action plan that was established 4 years ago when the new administration of Honorable Governor Lolo took office. And 20, 30, 40 years before that, no one was ever thinking of 100% renewable. And even renewable can be accomplished in the island because of the remote locations. So I can say that now that the 100% renewables, it's coming to the islands of Samoa, especially the territory of American Samoa. And with that, I know it's time constrained, Jeff. I have a little Samoa, like they're like happy-go-lucky people, you know. So I always like to start off with a little funny, and believe me, this is supposed to be funny.
Tom, why don't you share the story with the two islands that have gone?
Okay, I'll save that to the end, right? Okay, so the action plan was established in 2013. We were targeted to have American Samoa 100% renewable in 2040. Just recently, as the last 4 months, the 3 islands of the 5 islands that comprise American Samoa, we just have those 3 islands 100% renewables. There were 2 phases. Phase 1 was the 2 islands that's connected by a bridge. That was designed, EPC, constructed by Solar City, collaborated or partnership with Tesla storage batteries, and that was commissioned in last October. Then the other island of the 3 islands of that group of islands was just commissioned last month. That was collaborated by PSI, is a local company from Hawaii, Pacific Solar Innovation, with storage batteries of Aquion. And so I guess from a technical standpoint or geographically standpoint, you can say that it is now reaching the 50% renewable, but on a technical standpoint, from a meters perspective, it's probably 20% renewable. So 2040, back to 2040, we now in the process, excuse me, of collaborating with Sempra Energy. It's a company from, I think it's a 400 or 500 a company from the States or from San Diego, and they just came up with this new control technology. It's called the Advanced Control Technology. It's called ACT. The CEO or the vice president will be in a panel here at 3 o'clock. So they came up with this idea. It's basically the same concept as a microgrid, which means that it's a way to control the DERs, or the distributed energy resources of the electrical system, to maintain or sustain acceptable means of the frequencies and the voltage. So with the help of Sempra Energy, we are accelerating that process from 2040 to 2030. And right now we're thinking the 2025 can be reachable, but 2030 is now the target. So we are in the process of working with our local utility, which is a municipal, it's American Samoa Power Authority, the local EPA, and other agencies such as Public Works, Department of Commerce, which is our directors here in the audience. And so we're working collaboratively to make that happen. Obviously, if not 2025, like I mentioned, it will be 2030.
That's great. That's really exciting.
That's right.
Really exciting. So it sounds like the path to electrification is really not through that conventional, bring in diesels and gensets, but more through a microgrid, battery storage, hybrid with perhaps backup from diesel. Pradeep, do you want to share some of your challenges as you look across 900 islands and 80%, lacking electricity? What are some of the challenges to really deploying services to those areas?
For us in Solomon Power, we can't have the traditional solutions like having big grids. So we have gone down the path of mini and microgrids. We have already commissioned two mini grids in two separate islands, in Taro and Sege, which are very touristy spots. And then we are planning to do 30 more. And these mini grids are only 200 kilowatts with solar, battery storage, and diesel backup. And the diesel usage is only about 12%, 12 to 15%. Balance is all God's energy. So that's the path we are taking. The traditional solutions will not work across 997 islands because of the tyranny of distance, spread over 1.35 million square kilometers. So we have to think outside the square.
Think outside the square. That's good. In a second, we'll turn and see, Elaine, if there are any thoughts from the audience and some questions that want to be posed. But AJ, do you see islands then really as leaders of this fight? Do you view the islands as leaders?
Absolutely. I mean, the small island states at the moment are in the phase where they require a lot more of these microgrids, solutions to power up areas where the grid cannot be taken. If you look at the logistics of extending grids, as Pradeep has mentioned, it's a lot of these cases it's not possible because of huge volumes of water in between land. So these solutions of microgrids and other technological advances is the way to go. And in the islands who are in the greatest needs of these products is going to lead the revolution here.
It'll be exciting to see how things unfold in Fiji and Samoa and the Solomon Islands. Elaine, are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah, something that Hawaii people might be interested in, inter-island undersea cable. Given you've got 900 islands, you have so many different archipelago situations with your respective islands, and there's so much exciting work in terms of energy access and reliability and resilience strategies. Wondering if, given that it's a bit controversial in Hawaii in terms of inter-island undersea cable, is this something your islands have integrated, given potential environmental concerns?
Well, I can add to that real quickly. We collaborated with our Power Authority or our utilities. We have two more islands that are left, which is the big portion of the populations. And there's a channel that goes between those islands. And I think it's probably close to a mile. We're in the process with the utilities to establish a submarine cable. And that cable we're incorporating in the telecommunication. So, and it's already been ordered, been procured, and I think the construction is going to be starting soon, probably before the end of the year. And that technology is very helpful. So yes, we are working on that. And hopefully that we don't have to put PV solars on that other smaller island because of the submarine cable that we're working on.
So, and that's a mile distance. I think that's something where, in Hawaii we're looking at, dozens of miles to connect the islands. And so the trade-off between, that connection versus going it alone. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but it'll be exciting to watch how the islands evolve and how Solomon Islands come along. And increasingly, deploy the hybrid solution. So it'll be fun to watch. I encourage everyone to catch up with Thomas sometime during the break and hear his joke. It's worth it. But that's all the time we have.
Jeff, can I find that? Can I switch that?
I think we ought to wrap up.
Well, let me tell it real quick. It's real quick. Like I said, the 50 states and territories, 100% renewable. It's coming, right? So there's this story about this Samoan couple, been married 10 years. So all of a sudden, the husband filed for divorce. So during his court date, went to court, and the judge says, "Sir, can you elaborate on why you're really filing a divorce from your wife?" And the Samoan husband says, "Yes, Honorable. Me no come. Wife no come. Baby come. How come?" So actually, I got the green light from the people back there to do that. So I'm gonna bring that to. Thank you, Jeff, for being so
Thank you.
able to.